Hot 107.3 JAMZ, home of the Steve Harvey Morning Show. Shani Scott's on with you back in the midday. Welcome back to the midday once again, East Texas. I have a wonderful show lined up for you today. Well, I've been in Tyler since June 15th of 2013. And what brought me back to East Texas was the job here at Hot 107.3 JAMZ. I got hired to be the brand manager and midday personality. I absolutely love my job. I can honestly say every day that I get up and come to work, I am happy to come to work, happy to do what I do, happy to deal with the issues that come up with this job. I had my stroke when I was 33 years old. I had 2 babies prior to, and I was having my 3rd child. And when we had her, there were some issues with her coming out. There were some problems during delivery, but she came on out and she's here today. But they say that while I was in delivery that I pushed too hard and I busted a blood vessel in my head. So I went home after I had her, and that was one thing. I was like, Doc, I'm ready to go home. We've done this 3 years in a row. I don't need to stay here 2 days. Can I just go home? And he said, just stay for 8 more hours, which would have made it a whole 24. And he said, and then you can go home. I went home and had a terrible headache. And I just didn't know, what was wrong. I'm the type of person that doesn't know how to sit down, or when to sit down, when to be still, and when to relax. So I went home and started cooking, cleaning, like nothing had happened. And 5 days later, I kept complaining about the headache, and it was getting worse and worse. And 5 days later, I found myself in the hospital, in the ER. My husband at the time had to take me to the hospital because he said I didn't know who my girls were, who my daughters were. I didn't know who he was, so he knew something was wrong. And they called it a hemorrhagic stroke, which is caused from bleeding on the brain. And that's the medical term for it, but I believe that there was more to it than that, because I am a very spiritual person, as people would say. Bottom line, I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. And one thing I did not know how to do was slow down, and that's the first thing this stroke has taught me. Secondly, the other thing I wasn't doing, I wasn't living my life to make myself happy. I was living my life to make everybody else happy. And this stroke set me down. I was in ICU non-responsive for 2.5 weeks. They didn't know if they were going to have to cut inside my head to try to stop the bleeding, or they didn't know. They actually wrote me off. The letter that they gave my mom for the school that I was in at the time stated, this doesn't look good. It would be best that you unenroll her from the classes, and because we don't think she's going to make it, is basically what it said in black and white. Fortunately, the bleeding stopped, and I did wake up. But when I woke up, I didn't have my vision on the left side. I was unable to walk. I couldn't read or write. And I couldn't identify pictures as simple as a tree, a duck, a dog, a car. I didn't know what that was. I would look at it and say it was something else. They'd ask me, what is this? It might be a tree, and I'd say, oh, it's a dog. And so that was it was an eye-opener, but it wasn't a big eye-opener, because at the time I still felt like, okay, this will all pass and I'll be back to normal in a week. I got my girls, and I'm gonna be mom now, and I got things to do. It was, when am I gonna go home? And they had to explain to me, no ma'am, you cannot go home right now, because at the time I didn't know I couldn't walk. I had just been in the bed. I hadn't gotten up. There was no need for me to. And I stayed in ICU for about a month. Mother's Day rolled around. The stroke actually happened May 3rd, 2010. Mother's Day rolled around. They brought my kids to the hospital to see me. And that's when I found out I couldn't walk. because they couldn't bring him to ICU. I had to go down, and they brought a wheelchair, and I was like, you know, what is this? And they're like, you know, you can't, you just can't. I was probably stressed out, and it was already sitting there, and that this delivery just brought it along. So I delivered a baby, and I also delivered a new life, because without that, had I not had that stroke, I wouldn't be sitting here today as brand manager of this station, and honestly a happy person, because it makes a big difference to live your life, or to actually live your life. And now I'm living my life. Make sure you are living your life. Anything that you put your mind to, you can do it. You have to be unstoppable. You got to be unstoppable. You can't be just fearless. You have to be unstoppable. And there is a big difference. You can be driven, but if you are unstoppable, it doesn't matter what comes up against you, you're gonna keep moving and see the good and the bad.